Hi, welcome to J Lowe Artist. Today we're going to be doing a hand. I get often asked, how do you draw hands? And the best thing I can tell you is just practice, 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 lots of practice. The first thing you do want to do though is simple shapes. If you think of the hand, think of when the hands are together or the fingers are together. Notice how they create a shape, and you want to just block in those shapes. Oftentimes one will separate, whether it's the middle one. Usually if your hand is relaxed, the two middle ones go together. And so you just think of this whole section as a shape. I've got some reference over here on the right, and so that's what we're going to do. We're going to draw that hand, and the first thing you want to do is just kind of block it in, say this is where there's a shape here. And each finger becomes like a little sausage. And you can kind of come up and go, well, about that far, about the same width as the wrist. If you come up here, there's a little section there and a little section there. There's the thumb. The finger's going to come off here, and here's one section over here. There's another section here, and another one that overlaps. About like that. Then these three other fingers are kind of all in one section. You can just kind of put them all together. Kind of block them in like that. Whenever you have foreshortening, areas that come towards you or go away from you, it's a little more difficult. Please don't do the edges yet. Then I'm going to section these off into their individual shapes or individual sections. The thumb was a little high. Then you can kind of go, oh, okay, I can see what's going on there. But it's just a lot of practice. And everybody's hands are slightly different. And you just kind of keep going until it's about what you see. Oftentimes, too, with foreshortening, what's going to help you is values, lights and darks. So once you get to this point and you've kind of blocked it all in the way you want it to be, then you can start adding some value to it. This is very dark, but I'm just going to take my pencil here and start adding a little bit of value to it. There was a lot of sketch marks over here, but that's okay because it's dark there anyway. And just look at all the little shapes and things that are going on in that hand. The fingers. No, don't draw lines around everything yet. That will come later. Notice how the shadows create kind of an edge. It's light here and then it drops down and it's dark over there. Just like anything else we do in life, practice is the key. Practice is the key. Fingernails are another thing that gives a lot of people some problem, difficulties, because they want to draw a line around it, but it really is a shadow that is created. And so you can come up and you can do just a little bit of the shadow here and there. Don't draw lines around it. I think sometimes that's our downfall, is we want to draw a line around everything. We want to define the edges. You know, we've grown up with cartoons and we've grown up with designs and things that are very linear, very edgy. when you're drawing, you got to kind of forget those things. So now what I want to do is I'm going to take my kneaded eraser and I'm going to get rid of anything that I feel like I don't need. There are little lines here and there that I just don't feel like I need. One thing you may want to do is have a cotton swab on hand. I like to blend with the cotton swab. If you've watched any of my other drawing videos, you'll notice that cotton swab becomes very useful in blending. And the only reason I get rid of things right now is because sometimes when you want to darken them up, if you've got a line under there, that line kind of stays there and remains there for a while. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to start here and just start blending some of this together. Those edges, you don't have to blend everywhere. You know, you just blend where you think you need to. And you notice also how light I've drawn. That is because if you draw too heavy, you can't erase. So I want to be able to erase things, get them back to their basic forms. And you look at it, you think, okay, I see what's going on there. Those shadows that we're creating here with the cotton swab can also help us see our form, help us see that the change in direction of our object, and also helps us to get the right proportions. And I think that's the biggest problem that a lot of people have, is trying to get those proportions correct. Practice, that is really the key here. I know some people don't like to hear that. No, I don't like practicing. I want to have it right now. I want to have it perfect. Well, that's not how life works. We get kind of impatient sometimes. I know, I'm the same way. I get very impatient sometimes and think that I want to have everything right now. So now what you're going to do is layer in the darkness. Just layer it in. At one point, whenever you feel like, gosh, I've got enough of this number 2 pencil, this HB pencil, sometimes you want to shift over to a little darker pencil. Also, you want to rub on a lot of graphite to get it that dark. Sometimes when you get to this point too, you may want to take your dark pencil here and pick out some of those edges. Just say to yourself, oh, see, I see where that edge of that finger is right there. It kind of comes up and there's a little bump there where the joint is. Reflected light right in there. And so you just want to leave it open where that reflected light is, like this. And you can blend that in a little bit later. Remember that as you're doing fingers, the inside joint has to match the outside joint in a circular way. You because it's very circular right there. You know, your fingers are round. Look at your rings that go around your fingers are very round. So as you're drawing your fingers, just remember those things are round. So as you draw, whether it's the tips of the fingers or the inside of the fingers, just remember they're nice and round. And as you shade them, remember to shade kind of in a rounded way. There's little wrinkles there too. Everybody's got those little wrinkles across their fingers. You know, your flesh has to bend so much, and you want to have those able to flex and bend. And those midtones, you can use your cotton swab here to get those midtones. So it's easier sometimes to just leave them out and then come back into them and get them with that cotton swab rather than try to dry everything in at once. You can always come back into that with your kneaded eraser too and pull some lights out. Like there's really light across the tip of that fingernail. A little bit of reflected light, a little bit of light there where the cuticle is. Let me pull out some of that. A little bit of reflected light that's in there. Like I said earlier, you get good at doing things that you like doing. And if you think, I really want to get good at hands, draw a whole bunch of hands. Just practice. Get a little sketchbook and take pictures of hands, grab them off the internet. That's where this one came from. You could probably just Google, I think I Googled interesting hands poses. Notice too that I have some dark areas and some light areas, and sometimes I think, I shouldn't have put that edge in there. So you try to get rid of it, but maybe you just need a light edge. You don't need a really dark edge in there. Fingers are very luminous as well. The light travels through your skin and around and really gives it a very luminous kind of a look. Very hard to get sometimes when you're trying to draw lights and darks, but it's fun. It's just a lot of fun to try to pick up on all that subtle changes in value as you're drawing. Again, like anything else, the more you work on it, the better it gets. After a while, as you work on things, just kind of learn a few little tricks and strategies to get things the way you want them. Not everything happens at once. Sometimes I wish it did, huh? But sometimes that struggle is also fun. It's kind of nice to conquer. You know, I guess it's nice to conquer your drawings. If you're having fun doing this too, maybe one of these days I'll do one with ink. Show you some techniques of doing ink. Got quite a few ink tutorials out there, but when you're doing people, hands, faces, there's just a ton of stuff that you can leave to the imagination. You leave out, and you allow your viewer to fill in the blanks that you've left out, but you guide them to it. So with ink, it's kind of fun. You're kind of you're simplifying a little bit, but you're guiding your viewer to their own discovery, and that's kind of fun. Sometimes when I use the side of my pencil, I'm using the side of my pencil because I don't want a sharp edge. I don't want it to be too distinct on the edges. I want it to be soft. These fingers up in here are so light because they're up in the light. Just a little bit of edge there. You can kind of pick up a little edge, drop it off, leave it. This is a technique that you use a lot when you're doing ink. It's just allowing the viewer to connect lines, to connect the dots, if you will. So like this edge here, if I took that edge out completely, the viewer understands that the hand is right there. It's light and thin, or that the finger is right there. They understand that that's where it's at. And if you leave it out, it just gives it a nice light edge. And the viewer can put in the lines, put in the edge by themselves. And that's the essence of a lot of art. is to involve the viewer in your artwork. You know, the more they are involved in it, the more they feel like they want to stay in it, the more successful as an artist you'll be. Because ultimately, I mean, you're doing the art for yourself. You enjoy it. Ultimately, it is the enjoyment of other people that see it that a lot of satisfaction comes from that. But you load your cotton swab with graphite. You can do a lot of drawing with that cotton swab. And of course with your muted eraser as well. Quite a bit of drawing with that. And just be aware of all that foreshortening that's going on in there. Really, my friends, that's about it. You can work on this until it's very photographic. Or you can just say, you know what? This was just a good practice. Move on to another hand. And you just keep doing hands. I love hands and faces. You may want to Google hands and faces, or just take pictures of your friends and have them put their hand up near their face somewhere, or have them doing something where their hands become dominant, and just use them for practice. A lot of people like that. They like to be drawn. Imagine it was pretty much the same in the early 18th century when photography was coming in. A lot of people like to have their photos taken. Me, not so much. Thank you once again for joining me on this journey that we call art. Remember, art makes life better. It just does. Have a lovely day.